Let's talk about a massive shift that's happening right now in the world of branding. Seriously, it's a change that's turning what used to be years of work into mere days and transforming those static, dusty plans into some truly unstoppable momentum. So that's what we're digging into today, the new era of brand strategy.
Okay, so 7 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. What on earth could that represent in the world of branding? It's not the marketing spend, it's not a customer count. Nope, it's something way more creative.
Yep, 7 million unique Nutella jars. And get this, every single one was designed by an AI. And the result? They completely sold out in just 1 month. And this isn't some far-off sci-fi future. This happened. It's a perfect real-world example of how AI is already turning a product we all know and love into a collectible phenomenon.
All right, so first up, let's talk about this new reality for brands, what it really means to move from these outdated plans to that unstoppable momentum we just mentioned. But before we get to all the cool AI stuff, we've got to face the facts. To understand the solution, you first have to understand the problem. And the problem is, the old model is completely broken. Let's get into some of those painful truths.
And look, this isn't a new problem, right? This has been going on for a long, long time. I mean, who could forget the Tropicana fiasco back in 2009? They rolled out a redesign that confused customers so badly, sales plummeted by 20%. Or what about Gap in 2010? Their new logo caused such a huge public backlash, they had to pull it in less than a week. These are just famous examples of a model that's fundamentally out of touch.
You know, there's this great analogy that just hits the nail on the head. Relying on traditional brand strategy is like trying to navigate today's streets using a map from last year. It just doesn't work. Culture, trends, consumer tastes, they change so incredibly fast that a 6-month strategy report is basically a history book the second it's printed.
So, all of this adds up to what is basically a huge bottleneck for brands. First, it's incredibly expensive. Then, it's painfully slow. We're talking half a year or more just to get a static report. And what's worse, agencies often start from square one with every new project, so there's no persistent memory or continuous learning. And the real result of all that? World-class brand strategy is completely out of reach for the startups and small businesses. You know, the very people who need it the most.
But here's the turning point. This is where AI comes in and completely changes the game, delivering not just speed, but a whole new level of intelligence. This is the moment things shift.
And when you put the old and new model side by side, the difference is, it's just staggering. I mean, look at this. The timeline goes from months or years down to minutes or hours. But honestly, the biggest change might be the output itself. We're moving from a static PowerPoint deck that's old the minute you finish it, to a dynamic, living operating system for the brand. Okay, that's the theory, but let's talk about proof. Let's look at how real, leading brands are already winning with AI out in the wild, right now.
Let's take Starbucks, for example. Their old, traditional cycle for developing a new drink took a staggering 18 months. Think about that, a year and a half. But by using generative AI to crunch trends and consumer data, they slashed that time down to just 6 months. That's not just a little faster, that's innovating at 3 times the speed. They can literally move at the speed of culture.
But it's not just about moving faster. This is where it hits the bottom line. When Starbucks used its AI to give customers personalized drink recommendations, the average spend per customer shot up by 12%. So, what this proves is that AI isn't just some back-end efficiency tool. It's a serious revenue driver.
Okay, so whenever we talk about this, there's always the elephant in the room, right? That big question that hangs over any creative field. Is this it? Is this the end of human creativity? Are we just automating the soul right out of branding?
The answer is a hard no. In fact, you could argue it's the complete opposite. It's the beginning of creativity at scale. You have to think of it this way. AI doesn't replace human vision, it amplifies it. It gives creative teams the superpower to execute on big ideas that were, frankly, just impossible before.
A fantastic example is what Kraft Heinz did. They built their own custom AI engine called Tastemaker, and they trained it on all their brand assets. Now, their marketing teams can generate on-brand images and videos 8 times faster. So what does that do? It frees up the brilliant human minds to focus on the big picture, the strategy, the next big idea, not the tedious production work.
BMW is another fantastic case study. What they're doing is pretty revolutionary.
They're using AI to stop shouting at people with one-size-fits-all ads and start having a one-on-one conversation with them. The system analyzes data in real time to pick the perfect ad for each person. So maybe you see an ad that focuses on safety, while someone else sees one about cutting-edge design. The result is way higher engagement because it feels personal, all orchestrated by machine intelligence.
All right, so we've seen the power of this. Now, how do you actually unlock it for your own vision? How do you get from a great idea to real-world impact?
Well, here's the tricky part. The data shows that while a massive 83% of companies say AI is a top priority, a shocking 42% end up abandoning most of their AI projects. You see this huge disconnect, right? Everyone wants in, but almost half are failing to actually get their projects off the ground.
So the big takeaway here is to keep the approach simple. It really just comes down to three things. 1, you have to start with a clear, bold vision. Know where you're going. 2, use AI not as the goal itself, but as the catalyst, the jet fuel to accelerate that vision. And 3, that's how you achieve true velocity. That's how you turn your ideas into real-world impact fast.
And that really brings us to the final question you have to ask yourself. In an era where your competition can develop new products 3 times faster than you and can create personalized experiences for every single customer at scale, what is the real cost of waiting? Because in this new world, the risk isn't just about falling a little bit behind. It's about becoming completely irrelevant.